Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at a video called Why Which Was the Most Underrated Cartoon of the 2000s by Fan Mode. Um, yeah, so with any further ado, let's get into it.
Saturday mornings were the peak
Yes,
time
I
to be a
remember Gen
kid in the early
X.
2000s. Jackie Chan Adventures,
Jackie Chan
Digimon, Totally
Adventures, Digimon, and
Spies,
Totally
all topics we
Spies.
talk
That was
about on this
like
channel.
it.
But back then, you were ready to see what happens to your favorite series and what mischief they were trying to get
Oh,
themselves into this week, or out of. But today, we're going to be talking about a series that I think needs a lot more recognition, one that became a forgotten phenomenon
sir.
despite the depth and global success outside of America. I'm talking about
Yes.
Witch. It wasn't just a show only about
Yes.
magic and saving the day. The story and the characters had serious undertone that most magical girl shows, at least airing in America, didn't really focus on. Most magical girl
Exactly.
series highlighted the sparkles of girlhood like Winx Club, but this series was about friendship, heartbreak, and elemental magic, but didn't over embellish the world with glitter and fashion overlays. And as a young fan of
For
cartoons
real.
and anime, and having your dad walk into you watching Witch and Totally Spies and Atomic Betty really had
Oh
me
my
invested.
god.
The show
This
had
is my
5 girls that were chosen
childhood,
to protect the
bro.
balance between worlds while navigating their new powers and responsibilities that weighed on their shoulders. But despite the
Yeah.
heart and unique lore, which seemingly vanished. So today, let's open up the portals again and rediscover this early 2000s series. Back in
Alright.
2001, Italian author and Disney editor Elizabeth Nolan created Witch,
Okay.
a monthly comic series that
Real quick. Real quick. Like I don't know what it like was, but it's like totally just unlocked like memory. Like cause I remember watching Jackie Chan Adventures, Digimon Totally Spies. But when this show came out, when Witch came out, like um yeah, of course, we had like winks and stuff like what he was talking about. But this was like more like grittier. Of course, you have the magical girl aesthetic, of course, because this is the magical girl genre. But like this was like ground like breaking like hitting material that we like needed in the genre, I think. Let me know in the comments what you think. I think this was like needed.
combined the emotional storytelling of manga with the cinematic pacing of a Disney animation. The name Witch stood for its
Yes.
heroine, Will, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Helen. Now, I know that Terani is mostly mispronounced on the TV show and is really supposed to be like Terani, but for the sake
Yeah,
of
yeah,
consistency of the TV
yeah.
show, we're going to be pronouncing it the way the TV show did. Each one of these characters tied to their own elemental power. And these weren't your perfect, always smiling protagonists. They were humanly facing the struggles of life. Will was the
Yeah,
new
that's
girl
what I liked
struggling to
about
lead
it.
the others with this heavy responsibility over her. Irma hid her insecurities behind humor. Terani was the
That's my
introvert
girl.
that struggled with expression and courage. Cornelia
Irma
was
was my
stubborn but
girl.
loyal to a fault, which caused a lot of tension between them.
Cornelia
And
too.
Haylin was the emotional heart of the group, with free flowing will and spirit. Together, they became protectors of the veil, a barrier between Earth and other realms. But
Okay.
behind the magic
Yeah,
was
yeah,
something more
yeah, yeah,
human.
of
Growing
course.
up, changing friendships, and realizing that sometimes saving the world means saving yourself first.
Fuel your bank account and your morning at the Capital One Cafe with an all-day food menu.
My daughter's in ballet, and you need to set a bun.
Okay, a little break. But like, but yeah. That's what I liked about it because it didn't go, like how Winx does it. Change, girl transformation. because they had like, the magical powers and stuff, but they didn't really, like, they kind of did, like, touch up on their, like, situation, whatever, like, situation they were having, if it was, like, to have with themselves, but in which they really, like capitalized on that, what she's talking about. And, like, I like that. I was digging it. Like what, most of us was like 13 when this came out. We were old enough to, understand the going on, the going ons around what was going on. So yeah. um but yeah, I like that.
You don't know what set means.
Exactly.
Okay,
Realizing
skip
that
that.
sometimes saving the world means saving yourself first. At the
Yes.
center of Witch's world was Kandrakar, a mystical nexus connecting all dimensions. Will, Irma, Terani, Cornelia, and Haylin were chosen to be the guardians of the veil by the Oracle of Kandrakar, a celestial being. And at the center of their power were these crystals that gave them the power of the veil, a magical barrier separating Earth and other realms. In the
Yep.
first season, Will moves to Heatherfield trying to navigate being the new kid and struggling to figure out her place. One day, she inherits the hearts of Kandrakar, a glowing pendant that acts both as the Guardian's power source and a way to open and close portals into a different dimension. And this art awakens their elemental powers. Irma with the power
like
of
she was
water,
like the new,
Terani
like,
with fire,
guardian or
Cornelia
whatever.
earth,
She had
and
her
Haylin being air. They begin to see
she
the
didn't
cracks
really
in the
want
veil
to in the
itself,
beginning,
portals
but
opening
then,
between
I
Earth and
guess,
Meridian as
as
monsters slip through and into the world, spilling the
time
darkness of
went
the
on, she was
Meridian
like, yeah, I'm
into
doing
Earth.
this, but
In the
yeah.
Meridian, a tyrant named Prince Phobos sends his right-hand man Cedric, a shape-shifting librarian serpent, to locate his sister Elion.
And this
A
was really
seemingly
cool,
ordinary girl
like,
living in Heatherfield, completely unaware that she is the lost princess of Meridian, and then manipulates her into joining his side. Over
Which was
time, Elion's slow
crazy.
corruption becomes the emotional core of the season. We see her jealousy, her confusion, her pain being amplified by Phobos' lies that her human friends, especially Cornelia, had betrayed her. And this is what made
my
Witch
gosh, I
so
need to
different
turn on
from
the
other
air
series.
conditioning.
The villains weren't cartoonish villains or villain of the week. They were both manipulative and emotionally complex, while at the same time being believable. Elion didn't fall because she was weak, she fell because she wanted to belong. The turning point
Alright, we're about to get into story time because this was like peak, like, childhood, because let me tell you about the lineup of how, things were watched, at least by me, in my house. So it was Digimon, Witch, and then next week I'll get into what the third lineup was, because when this event happened, it was really crucial, and it had me crashing out. And all I remember is that I got home. I got home from school. You know, the whole spiel. Do your homework and your chores first before you watch TV. Yada yada yada. The whole 9 yards. So I did that. But even before we even got home, we went to the nearest, like, gas station, and it was got me little snacks. So when it was time to watch TV, I had my snacks on hand when watching these shows. So anyways, back to the lineup. So it was Digimon, Witch, and then miscellaneous. But the thing is that when Witch came out, we had parts 1 and 2 of the like premiere episode, so we had to wait like a year before we had the whole episodes like with us and stuff like that. So tell me why. Because at the time, I think Digimon Frontiers was airing. Tell me why Jetix thought it was a good idea to premiere one of the Digimon movies on their network, and tell me why that's the timer was malfunctioning, because I saw it in real time. It went from like, it was counting down from like, we were like in the last seconds of 59 seconds to 0. And tell me why I had a real life Diaboromon like experience, because it was glitching back to the last 2 seconds before it hit 0. And I was waiting for the Digimon movie to premiere, and I think it was it was the Revenge of Diaboromon that was premiering on Jetix. They thought it was a good idea. Apparently not, because they didn't test it out, because they had technical difficulties. So my watching like TV like guide, like been doing it for years. It like it was delayed by like an hour and 30 minutes because of the technical difficulties with the movie. So I was all like, you mean I have to? That was like the first time I ever like crashed out. Because I was waiting to watch which has been a year since like the first episode. So give me my episodes, man.
When the Guardians, despite all the betrayal and heartbreak, refused to give up on her. In the final battle of season 1, it isn't just about good versus evil, it's about forgiveness, redemption, and reclaiming identity. Will harnesses the heart's full power, Elyon sees the truth, and Phobos gets sealed away by the very magic he tried to control. The veil is lifted, balance is restored, and Elyon ascends to the rightful ruler of Meridian. And for a Disney show, it's astonishingly complex.
Yeah.
1 minute, you're watching a lighthearted episode about school crushes. The next, you're knee-deep in a magical coup, emotional betrayals, and themes of manipulation and destiny. Every portal, every spell, every confrontation was also a metaphor for growing up and learning who you are. Because that's the big secret of Witch. Behind the spells and glowing pendants, it was really about 5 girls finding balance, not between worlds, but within themselves. Now, after the fall of Phobos and the restoration of Meridian, you'd think the Guardians could finally take a break, but no. In season 2, this moment of peace settles in, and the story decides to drop this single most dramatic plot twist of the series, the rise of Nerissa, the fallen Guardian. And honestly, Nerissa's arc is where Witch stopped being a fun magical girl show and became a full-on detailed lore-rich world. Long before Will and her friends were chosen, Kandrakar had another team of Guardians. Their leader was Nerissa, a former keeper of the heart of Kandrakar. She was a brilliant, ambitious, and deeply loyal until she wasn't. When the Oracle chose to pass the heart to a new generation, Nerissa couldn't accept it. She had convinced herself that she alone understood the balance and that Kandrakar was making a mistake. And so began her slow, bitter corruption. Nerissa's rebellion was catastrophic. She had tried to claim the heart of the Force, and in doing so, destroyed the very power she swore to protect. The Council had stripped her of her title, sealing her away. Then, decades later, when Will became the new keeper of the heart, Nerissa's spirit stirred again,
so
awakened by jealousy.
so
Season
she
2
was
is where
crashing
the
out a
girls
little
are
bit,
facing
so
a
I
new
was
enemy.
all like,
One
you
who
know what?
manipulates emotions, exploits memories, and literally weaponizes regret. But underneath, it's about the weight
Yeah, she
of
was crashing
legacy.
out on
Will
everybody.
isn't fighting
Like,
a
I'm
villain,
like,
she's fighting a ghost of what she could become
got these
herself.
weaknesses, I'm
Nerissa didn't
about to
attack with
harness
brute
them
force, but instead
out
broke
on
people
all
from
y'all.
the inside out. She targeted the old Guardians first, Cassidy's spirit, Halenor's guilt, Kadma's pride, and even Halen's grandmother, Yanlin, who once served beside her. Every victory came at a cost. Every ally questioned their own past choices. And the show even dove into Kadrikar's politics itself. The Oracle, once this untouchable cosmic figure, was shown to be flawed, indecisive, burdened, and maybe even responsible for Nerissa's fall. In a way, Season 2 turned the entire Guardian structure upside down. What if this foundation, the system that creates Guardians, is just as capable of breaking them? And amidst all the darkness, the girls still had to juggle normal life. Hey, sorry your grandma was beaten and everything you stand for might be flawed, and the villain you're fighting might have a reasonable and relatable motive.
True. Yeah, like it's relatable and stuff, because you know, it could happen in real life and all that. Yeah, I got you.
For what they're doing, but you got to test on Monday. And never let fantasy drown out the humanity of these girls trying to figure out life. In the season's climax, Will, empowered not by dominance, but by empathy, finally sees through Nerissa's rage and realizes she isn't just a monster, but a reflection of what happens when power is consumed by loneliness. In the end, Nerissa is defeated not by violence, but with that understanding and empathy for her. The show closes this arc not with girl power, but with something else for her. The show closes this arc not with girl power, but with something else. Growth. For a series marketed to kids, which dealt with grief, power, redemption, and moral consequences. By 2006, Witch had 2 complete, emotionally rich seasons, introduced a sprawling magical universe, and yet no one almost remembers it. And the reason isn't complicated. Disney had just shifted its focus. Suddenly, Saturday morning cartoons were old news, and live-action shows like Hannah Montana, That's So Raven were taking center stage. And merchandise had became king, which, with its movie tones, serialized storytelling, and minimal toy line, simply didn't fit.
And mind you, because That's So Raven and Hannah Montana were like any live action, really. If you're really counting, Disney really did like switch their spectrum a bit after that. So
wasn't flashy enough for the market. You had to be able to watch it weekly to be able to keep up with the storytelling. So random reruns for new viewers was confusing, and they had no way to catch up. Meanwhile, its main rival Winx Club had wings, pop music, was brighter, and definitely easier to sell, with viewers being able to tune into a random episode and get the gist of it immediately. Which had emotional depth, political intrigue, and a story that was apparently hard to sell toys with. And despite critical acclaim and a dedicated European fan base, the series quietly ended after 2 seasons. There was no big finale, no closure for the TV adaptation, just a graceful fade from Jetix. And yet, in its absence, something beautiful happened. The fans didn't let it die. The late 2000s was a big boom for internet communities. Gaia Online, Tumblr archives, YouTube AMVs, and fan art that kept the story alive. The fans didn't let this series die. But what's remarkable is that even though the world moved on, Witch quietly remained influential. It paved the way for other series that respected their audience, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, who dared to treat kids as capable viewers that were able to understand complex emotions, moral dilemmas, and the true weight of responsibility through its storytelling. And maybe that's the secret to its quiet legacy. Which wasn't flashy enough to dominate the market, but it was rich enough to last in memories. The magic survived in the hearts of those who understood,
For some people,
those
it was
who
a
learned
bit,
from
it
Will's
was a
mistakes,
mess. But to me,
Cornelius'
I
loyalty,
think
Irma's humor,
I
and
liked
Tereni's
it. It was a
fire,
hit for
and
me.
Halen's courage. Its fandom may be niche, but it is passionate. And perhaps that's the truest legacy of it all. A show that survived not because of flashy marketing, but because it had heart. So maybe Witch never conquered the world like Disney had hoped. And maybe it didn't get its endless reruns. But for those watching it was the world. A story about 5 ordinary girls learning to shoulder their responsibilities, friendships, growth, and courage, all while finding the balance between worlds, power, humility, childhood, and adulthood. Its magic wasn't portals, spells, or glowing hearts. Its magic was in the feelings it left behind for its fans. And quietly in memories of those who cared enough to appreciate it. But with that nostalgic and heartfelt look back at the show Witch is where we're going to be ending it today. If you would like more future videos on Witch and maybe going over every single character and their powers, please let me know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell me what your favorite Gen X show was in the past. And maybe we'll do a video on it. But my 5 minutes are up and I will see you in the next one.
Interesting. I would not mind seeing a video what he talked about the power, each girl having a video with each girl and their powers. Interesting. Okay, I see what you're putting down. Anyways, I like what he's putting out. So the video is gonna be in the link in the description. And like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next one.